Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's show, Families Grow Together, number 15. Today, we'll be talking about the importance of seeking good counsel, or the importance of seeking wise counsel. My screen is misbehaving. Okay, so Aqua will take us through what actually is it? Wise counsel, seeking wise counsel. Anyway, let's not bother ourselves too much. Aqua is here who will take us through, and just get your pen and papers and take down notes. So over to you, Aqua.
Thank you, Nelly. Welcome, everyone. Good evening, and welcome to our 15th show, as Nelly said. Gosh, where did the time go? We're doing 15th show already. Right, so today we're looking at the importance of getting wise counsel or advice. So where do we go for wise counsel? And what is wise counsel in the first place? In the book of Proverbs in the Bible, it says in Proverbs 1:5 that a wise man will hear and increase learning, and a man. You okay? And a man of understanding will attain wise counsel. So in other words, let the wise listen and add to their learning, and let the discerning or people who have understanding get guidance. So if you have understanding, you will get guidance, you will get help for what we need. Right, so in the past presentation, last week we looked at advocacy, and we looked at what we need as families. And our shows are geared towards helping families learn and grow together. So our principal focus is to work with the parents so that the parents can then cascade to the children. To get help, we need to do so if we have the capacity. So to get help when needed, it's important to get help from the right place. And when we get the help that we need, it increases our capacity to be good parents. It increases our capacity to be able to solve problems. So if we lack wisdom in an area of our life, we need to seek wisdom in that area of our life. And when we get the capacity, when we build ourselves up, we're then able to share this with other people, to share this with the people who need it, and to give the best life chances to our children. So, for example, in the Bible, it says, if you lack wisdom, where do you go? As a Christian, I go to the Bible for counsel. And then as a woman, I go to other women. As a parent, I go to other parents. So you can choose where your wise counsel comes from. But we're going to look at where to go for counsel as a parent or a carer. And before seeking counsel, before seeking advice, we need to identify, we must know that there is a problem, because you don't just go get counseling or go get advice or something that you already know too much about. So if we know that there is a gap in our knowledge, a gap in our knowledge as parents, a gap in our knowledge as a spouse, a gap in our knowledge as a friend or colleague, then we find solutions to that problem. We find that we put the gap, we work and towards filling that gap. So once the gap is identified, then we have to look for where to go in order to get the advice that we need to fill that gap. And we can choose to go it alone, try to reinvent the wheel, go start researching, watch 1,001 YouTube channels, or go get all your dictionaries and encyclopedia out and start digging, like how can I learn this thing? Or we can choose to learn from people who have already been there, done it, and can help you shorten the distance for you. So if our problem requires expert knowledge, then we'll find an expert. So for example, if it's a health condition, you go to a doctor. If our problem is experiential, to find somebody who has gone through that experience and learn from them. So we're going to look at 3 different people we can learn from. So we can learn from a teacher, somebody who synthesizes other people's knowledge and principles and then teach it out to you. We can learn from a coach, somebody who can hold you accountable and help you bring out what is already inside you, so that the coach will push you to do more. Maybe if you're exercising, they'll push you to do 1 extra rep, or they'll want to know what you want to work on and help you to get to that place where you want to be. So the coach is not giving you solutions to your problem. The coach is bringing out the solution from you. And the 3rd person we can learn from is a mentor. A mentor is somebody who has gone through what you're going through and come out on the other side, and most especially victorious, because you can learn from somebody who has come out on the other side and they're still in the same hole. They've been there for donkeys of years. Or you can learn from somebody who has gone through the trials and tribulations and come back on the other side, and they're sharing what they've learned, they're victorious, and they've overcome whatever situation they were struggling with. So these are the 3 main people that I wanted to talk about. We're not going into details on what a coach does or how the different types of coaching or mentorship and things like that, because we can go in all directions with those, and it will take us over and over again. So what I'm going to look at is, it's important to know that we all can be all 3 things. We all can be all 3 things to our families. We all can be teachers. We all can be coaches. We all can be mentors to our children, to our friends. We all can be all these things to somebody who needs us. So just because somebody and most often than not, mentors are people who are older than the mentee. But these days, we can learn from younger people. A younger person can be a mentor. So, for example, I can mentor my daughter in, say, how to become a woman, and she can mentor me on IT stuff, because I am very blank on some of the IT things that are happening around the world, the new innovations and everything. So I can learn from my daughter as much as she can learn from me. So because somebody is your mentor doesn't mean that you only squeeze from them, you are a leech, you only take. You can bring something to the table as a mentee. So let us take an example now of how we can use these 3 people. Now, we all know I am an early intervention practitioner. I support children and families. I support especially those who are delayed in their learning and development, and especially in the area of speech and language development. So that is what I'm going to use as an example. How we can use these 3 people where we can go to for wise counsel in order to help us help our children. Now, so if the gap is language delay, as a parent, what do I know about this topic? Do I know enough about language delay to be able to help my child? If not, where can I go for guidance? Who do I go to help me, to give me advice? And who is best placed to help me? I could go to a teacher, I could go to a coach, or I could go to a mentor. Which of these people are best placed to help me? Now, I'll use myself as an example. My last daughter had to go to speech therapy. What was the gap? She had speech sounds disorders. And so she needed speech therapy. Then I did not know anything about coaching and mentoring in this aspect. So she was referred to speech therapy. I went to speech therapy. So I went to the expert, to the teacher, somebody who has studied speech therapy and who knew exactly what the principles were. They knew the subject matter, and so they showed me what to do to support her. When I did this, I then got interested in language delay and what it's all about. And I started doing courses and training on this topic. And now I can be these 3 people to parents and families. So I can teach them all about language delay and early intervention, what to do, what it's all about, what are the causes, the symptoms, and how children learn to talk. I can act as a teacher there. Secondly, I can coach them by holding them accountable for the exercises I give them to do at home. So I can hold them accountable by sending them text messages during the week. This is what we did in our last session. What are you doing about it? How many times have you sat and interacted with your child in a positive way? What did you observe? So I can hold them accountable as a coach. And as a mentor, because I went through the same thing, I'm able to share my experiences. This is where I struggled. This is where I found it easy. So I can be all these three people to a parent or a carer. So depending on the time and level of importance of what your gap is or what the need is in your life or in your child's life, you can use all these three people to get the information that you want. So a teacher, for example, is an early intervention practitioner, a speech therapist, or your class teacher or your child's class teacher, because they'll give you the expert knowledge on speech and language therapy. Secondly, a parenting coach will hold you accountable as to, are you doing what you've been asked to do with your child? Are you doing the exercises or activities? And a mentor is going to be another parent who is going through the same thing that you are going through. So are they a step ahead of you? Are they 2 steps ahead of you, or have their child already been through all the processes and come back and come out on the other side? So when we need when we need advice about any aspect of our lives, these are the 3 main people we can go to for advice. So you find a teacher, an expert, you find a coach, somebody who will hold you accountable and push you to go beyond what you would normally go, because maybe sometimes you're like, okay, I've done my bit, I'm leaving it like this. You can go to a coach, or you can find a mentor, somebody who has gone through, has the experience, and can help you do what they have done. So it's over to you now. What is the gap in your life? That's the question. Who can you go to for advice, and who can support you? Thirdly, do you need a teacher, a coach, or a mentor to be able to support you in that area of your life? You owe it to yourself to find out. The least thing that we need to do is to find out what we need. Even if we do not eventually do something about it, let us know what the gap is in our life. Let us know what we're struggling with. Because if we do not even know that we're struggling in anything, then we are not going to make any progress whatsoever. So it's important that we do this thing, and it is important that we be the best versions of ourselves. Because when you take care of yourself, like Jim Rohn says, I'll take care of you, and I'll take for me. It's what Jesus said. I'll take care of me for you, and you take care of you for me. Because if you come with the best version of yourself, and the other person comes with the best version of themselves, you get all of you enjoy it. But if you self-sacrifice, like I'm gonna just kill myself for everybody, you don't get anything. You become resentful, and your children don't get anything. So it is important that if you need help, you find help. And if you're struggling to answer these questions, we're here to help you. So if there's a gap in your life and you do not know where to take it, come to us. The least we can do is to be a sounding board for you to identify what that gap is, and point you in directions that you can go to get help. So, like we said in the beginning, let the wise listen and add to their learning, and let the discerning get guidance. Anybody who has understanding will get guidance for the things that they need to work on. Thank you for listening, and over to you, Nelly.
Wow. Thank you so much for that, Aqua. So I'll just give a brief summary. I hope I get it right. So from what Aqua has been saying, I would just like to summarize a bit. So she talked about wise counsel. You need to first identify the gap or what you are lacking in, and then you seek advice. When you identify what you are lacking in, you find out what kind of lack it is in your life, and who is that person you can go to get that help. Once you identify those, you can now choose either to go to a teacher. A teacher doesn't mean that it's only a classroom teacher. It could be anyone who has gone through similar experience as the gap you are experiencing in your life. You can go to a coach. You can go to a mentor. You might want to go through this journey on your own, or you might want to find someone. But there's a lot that has been, research has shown that when people go on their own, they take a very long time. Whereas if you look for someone who has been through the same problem that you are going through, it will cost you less, a shorter time, and you will have that support because they will hold you accountable for your actions. And you realize that you will take a shorter time to go through that gap. So you bridge the gap, and it'll be like a plus to yourself and to your families and your community as well. So thank you so much for that. I'm sure I made a good summary. Just on the
Okay, you did actually. You really summarized it well. Thank you. That's good. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. So when Aqua was speaking, there were certain words that I took note of. And first is identify the gap. I think most people, if not all, know when there's a problem in their lives, which is that gap. But the second step, acknowledging that's where the biggest problem is. Because some people live in denial. Let's take the example that Aqua gave about her daughter needing a speech therapist. If Aqua was told that the daughter was delayed in her speech sound, and she refused that, no, her child doesn't have it, then she wouldn't have gone through the process that she went through and now sitting here to help other parents. So when we identify, let's accept it rather than being in denial, because it will only postpone the prosperity of the individual and the family. Then when you accept the situation, you seek for help, you identify who is there to help you. Just like Aqua put it nicely, if it's for speech therapy, you go to a speech therapist. And we don't learn only from a typical classroom teacher. As we live our lives, any situation you find yourself that someone challenges you, take that as your teacher, because that's something you need to learn in your life. Sometimes it could be our children. They might say something and it takes you by surprise that, oh, you didn't think about it. At that time, that child is your teacher. So I think a lot of the traditional ways of doing things are shifting, because at first, or years back, some places I know it still goes on. When an elder or a parent says something, it is final. The younger ones or the children do not have to say anything. But now it is clear that our elders do not have all the answers. And anyone who is wise will always want to learn, because things change a lot every day. But if as a parent, you say, yes, I'm a parent, I gave birth to you, I provide shelter, I provide food, I provide and then you don't listen to your child, probably the child is coming back with a genuine problem that they are facing. But because you don't have that time to listen to the children or to your child, bit by bit, the child starts withdrawing from you. So seek counsel even from your child. Listen, because that is the thing. Listen. We learn every day, unless you decide that you don't want to learn. But again, learning is a matter of choice. But it has been shown that there's a lot of benefit when we learn, because in life, we learn things that we think that everyone does it, but if you look at it critically, some people struggle. Some people don't even attain the simple thing that someone considers very simple. So is to learn and have an open mind to keep learning and learning. Even if you think that you know the best, listen to some other person's opinion. You'll be amazed that probably they have twisted things a little different from the way you do it. And you'll be like, oh, I didn't know I could do it this way. Again, I think that's wise counsel. So let's be open-minded. Let's not be rigid, because a lot of people have been so rigid for so many centuries, so many decades. And
are they fossils? Being rigid for so many centuries. Dinosaurs.
yeah, so, and then the other one, just to add to the identifying, acknowledging, and seeking help. Help. There's a misconception about help. Because when we go for help, it doesn't mean that you need to be a beggar to get help. Help is a positive aspect of oneself because you have identified and acknowledged that there is a gap. And because you have noticed that that gap is having a negative impact on your current situation, on your life, on your children or family members, on your family situation, and you want that situation to change, that is when you decide to ask for help. It doesn't mean that you are just sitting there being lazy and not wanting to do anything. So it takes a lot of courage to identify, accept your gaps, and then to seek for help. Because so many people will discourage you. But if you know that your current situation, you don't like it, you want it to change, you hope for something better, you don't know what that thing will be or how the situation will be, but you want to adventure. It might be hard, but you know that you want something different. Go for it. So when you seek help, it doesn't mean that you are weak or you are a failure. So yeah, thank you, Aqua. Over to you.
Right. So do you have any questions for me?
So I know you've talked about the different areas that we can go to for counsel. So if, say, I'll take, say, for the teacher from a child, if, say, you do something and a child pulls your attention to that you have done this, how would you approach that child? Because now you say you are the parent. Just if you can give us parents like simple tips that we can approach or respond to our child or a child who has pulled us, but who is our teacher, that will be very grateful.
I guess I can have a lot of examples from my own life because my children teach me all the time. You know, it's not easy as a parent. Sometimes it's very hard as a parent to humble yourself and accept correction from your own child. Because when children are teaching us, it doesn't come out overtly as teaching experience. It usually comes out as a rebellion or a disagreement to something that you've told them. So that's how children, that's how the most learning between parents and children, especially in our setting as Africans, comes out. And if you are a wise parent, as the proverb says, the wise need to listen and add to their learning. If you are a wise parent, the first thing you do is to listen. Don't just react to what your child has said. Think about it and then respond. Because yeah, we all go into this temper flares. You're like, how dare you talk to me like that? Da, 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 da. But even if you went down that route and you shouted at them, go back and reflect on what your child said. Because it's especially when you're trying to teach them something and they're saying that they come across as if they know more than you. It's sit back and reflect on it. What is it? And try and understand where they're coming from. So if you're angry at that moment, take a walk, remove yourself from the situation. And then when you've calmed down, you come back to them and say, okay, I would like to understand where you're coming from. Ask questions. The best way to get to the bottom of something is to ask questions, and not just any odd questions, good questions. Because if you do not ask questions, and if you ask lousy questions, as Tony Robbins says, you get lousy answers. So ask good questions. What is the outcome that you're trying to get? You want to get to the bottom of what your child has said. And why are they saying it? How does it make them feel, whatever the situation was? So it's important that we listen and then respond. So as a parent, my children have called me to order lots of times, especially with the language that I use. Are you crazy? My son will say, no, I'm not crazy. And like, okay. It is because we know that our words matter. Sometimes even when we're saying it in jokes and things like that, it sticks. So he keeps pulling me up on this. And I think they'll agree that I am saying it less and less, which is something that I have learned from them. Another thing is somebody like Mia. She is so particular. She doesn't just react to things. She actually responds to things, and she thinks about things before she speaks. And she gives you wisdom, and you're like, and I know you know this example, but you know when we went away for, in October, and I said I was asking Tony why he didn't want to come. And he was saying that, and for me, it was about him not wanting to stay and play football. And I knew that he was going to miss whatever experience we were going to have in Portsmouth. But he was adamant that he wasn't coming. And so when we were in the car coming, I'm like, I was just telling the girls, I know that he's going to regret this decision. But then Mia said, but then that should have been your point, and not focusing on the football aspect of it. Your point should have been about the fact that he's going to lose. He's going to miss this experience that we're going to have together, and not emphasizing on the fact that you think that football is the reason why he's not coming. And I'm like, oh my goodness, where did this child come from? So, and she has done that several times with me. And so it helped. She is like a sounding board in the sense that I don't really go to her for advice, but she comes out with these things that just like, whoa, that's a teaching moment. And I just keep these nuggets to myself, obviously, but I share it when needed. So I hope that answers your question in a long way.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you for sharing that that example. So if a parent is faced with a child teaching them, or the child acting as a teacher, the first thing, like what Aqua has said, is for the parent to listen. And then you reflect or think about that point, and then you respond. I think sometimes parents easily react because they think of their own experience. Because like growing up, when I was growing up, probably is the same as most of us. Mm-hmm. When we're growing up, we had one answer, and that answer was yes.
Or the person say, because I told you so, because I said do it.
The answer was yes. Whether you are saying yes and crying because you didn't want it, but you had to say yes. But now, our children, you ask them something or you tell them something. If that doesn't sit well with them, they'll ask you, why? You explain it, but why? But why? They keep on asking them, but why? And it's so annoying. But then there, parents, when you are getting annoyed, it is not about what the child is asking, because the child wants to know which is why they are asking. But because they are asking different questions triggers something within you. That's when you get angry. The child is not doing purposefully at you. The child wants to get clarity because it is easier for people to do things when they understand what they need to do and why, or the outcome from doing whatever is requested of them. So parent, just like Aqua has said, when you are faced with that situation where your child is being your teacher, just be calm. You will feel that uncomfortableness within your stomach because it is something that you have been keeping for a long time. So don't take it out on the child because the child is just being innocent and wanting to know more. So take that child as your teacher.
Yes, another thing is about this accepting teaching from our children is we need to be humble. Put your pride down as a parent. I am the parent, I am the boss in this house. Lower yourself because humility is the best teacher. Because if you do not humble yourself, not only in your home, you'll be prideful everywhere else that you go, and you will not be able to learn anywhere else because you think that you're all that. So it's important for us to, that we humble ourselves in order to be able to learn, irrespective of who you're learning from.
Yeah, I think that's really, really important, yeah, to be humble. Because, you know, it's easy for a lot of people have this inflated ego, and people use, say, being aggressive or being violent as the only way. But that is the opposite of being humble. When you are humble, you get a lot of respect, unlike when you are being aggressive or violent. People react or respond to you, not because you deserve what is, but they do it because of fear. You have invoked fear in them, and they respond or react the way they do because they know that if they want to do things the right way that goes against this person that they look up to, they fear the consequences. And that goes in the trust, because even if you provide everything that you think your children need, but then the children know that they can't trust you, you give them a lot of room for manipulation because everyone has the capacity to manipulate.
Mm-hmm.
Once children find that advantage because they know that their parent want them to behave this way, the child will behave exactly that way in front of the parent. And when I say this, what is coming to mind is we have children who go to universities or to, let me take universities. When they leave home, parents think that the children are at uni, in the halls of residence, or in their accommodation. Parents do not know what their children do. And sometimes the children don't want to come back on holiday because when they come back home, their parents will be restricting them. So then, because parents are being so rigid, we think, our parents think that they know their children, whereas they don't. And then the parent is blocking them from being wise. So then they don't even learn about the children or the child that they love so dearly because there's no trust. So it's to have that open mind, be accepting your child and not imposing your own views on your child. Everyone has their own, like in my country, they say you give birth, that a parent gives birth to a child and not to their heart. So parents, give your child that opportunity. Let them feel free with you to say whatever. If it's a mistake and not the child. So differentiate children's behaviors from them. Let's be wise. I think this conversation is really, really important because for now, there's like a lot of information, but there's very little wisdom. And wise, wisdom, they go together. So let's seek wisdom because with wisdom or seeking wise counsel, it will give you that sense of purpose that you have gone through something and you can use your lessons. It could be you can learn from other people and teach other people, but be open-minded and then let's develop that attitude of learning, learning, learning. Even if it's the same thing, learn it. If you go over it the next time, you will pick up at least one thing that you missed in the previous times that you went through the same material. So keep going over and over. So yeah.
Right, that's true. So yes, it's important that we seek wisdom. So as parents, as friends, as spouses, as people in relationships, there could be gaps in any area of your life. And as we know, when especially people who have done the assessment of the wheel of life, no matter how good you are, you may be 100 in an area and 10 in another. So there will always be a gap in our lives to be for us to be able to learn more about and to try and close the gap. So there is nobody who tell us 100% that they're fine in every area. That is a myth. And so if you have that gap in your life, seek help. Find people who have done it and get support accordingly.
Yeah, yeah, very important. I mean, there was that aspect, or there is the aspect that we just come into this world to live life anyhow. Anything that comes at us, we take it. But no, we need to be intentional because let's not just leave things and say things just happen to us. That's when the wise counseling or wise counsel comes in. Seek it and learn so you make intentional decisions of what you want to do rather than being so busy on nothing.
And it's important for us as well to know that we all have something to give. So Nelly and I are not here because we have all the answers. We have gaps in our lives, massive gaps in some aspects of our lives. So we're not here to tell you to come and sit here and for you to think that just because we're talking about this topic, it means that our lives are sorted. No, we have gaps in some areas. We're here sharing our experiences in those areas where we used to have gaps, still have some gaps, trying to bridge the gaps and want people to come along with us. So we're expecting you to come on board, help us with our own gaps, let us learn from each other. You can mentor us in finances, and we can tell you in speech and language or emotional development. So it is important that we find those people who can complement us so that we work together hand in hand. You get a pun? So hand in hand, three, you need two hands to tie a bundle. So three cut of three fold is strong. So let us find help when we need it. That is my prayer for all of us. So
Yeah.
Have anything to add?
No, thank you so much for that, Aqua. I mean, it was really nice and straight to the point, and probably I'll just give a brief summary that everyone, not everyone, most people, majority of the population in the world have gaps in their lives.
I'm sure everyone has a gap in their life.
Well,
even
for the sake of this, no, I'm not looking at you know what, I consider people as individuals and not their positions because we put a lot of emphasis on their positions.
Yeah.
because they have the external power, but I focus on the internal power. So,
which is more the reason why I said everybody has a gap in their life. You cannot be without a gap if you've attained perfection, and there's nobody on this earth who has perfection. No, everybody has a gap.
Okay, so just to summarize is identify the gap, the area in your life that you are struggling with. You might not be struggling, but you want to improve on certain areas of your life. So identify that, and then you acknowledge it. You might identify it and you'll be thinking, no, I don't want to. No, it's not me. It's for others and not me. Once you identify, you accept it, and then seek for a wise counsel on those areas, because if we are not open-minded, we will be punishing ourselves, because anything that we do it for ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
We might think that we're doing it for other people. We are doing it for ourselves. And this one, I say it, and I was reading this book, and I was reading the first law of nature, natural law, and it's the law of oneness. And since then, my whole life changed, because my perception was that if, say, I insult Aqua, actually, I'm doing it to myself and not to her. So if we can think of that, it's a natural law, no one can change it. All of us are one, the law of oneness.
The spiritual law as well, because they love your neighbor as yourself. So if you hurt yourself, you're hurting yourself.
Yeah. And again, it says that all of us are from the same source, so which is God. It's not linked to any religion, but just generally it's God, because everyone has a higher power. So yes, Aqua, you've said something there that has just diverted my.
Let's not widen this conversation, because we can go on.
So no, I was making summary. I've remembered now. So I was saying that identify the gap in your life or the area that you want to improve, acknowledge it, and seek for help. Seeking for help is a proof to yourself that you are brave and you want to change your situation. And then know where you are seeking for that help, whether from a teacher, from a coach, or from a mentor. You might want to go solo. You might want to look for someone who has been there to take you through the shortcuts. But in any way, make that change, because it's you and you alone who can make that decision that you want to change. No one can do it for you. And this is something the society has made us to think that there are people there who will sort us out, or who will help us to solve our problems. But the truth, until you know the truth, that it is you. People can help you, but the final decision sits on you. If you decide that you want to change, you will change. If you decide that you don't want to change and all the support in the world comes to you, you will still not change. So all of it is down to you. No one can force you. It is down to your choice, what you want to do. So that's it from me, Aqua. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Nelly, for that great summary. And it's so important, because you said help is strength. It takes strength to ask for help and to ask for help. And when you said that, just reminded me of a mom that I visited today. She's struggling with swallowing. And in turn, it's impacting on her baby, because she's scared now if she gives him food, he's going to choke. So he called us for her advice. And I was just telling her that you've done the right thing. Because if you don't ask for advice, the impact on your child will be, you don't know how far it's going to go. She said she just needs somebody to come alongside her, sit there while she feeds this child, so that it gives her the confidence that she can do it. And you may think that that's a small thing. How difficult is it to feed a child? But that was just like one of those things that I just said, this is what I'm looking for. Holding somebody's hand. This is why Hand in Hand is here, to hold somebody's hand, walk that journey with them. So please don't struggle alone. If you need help, seek help. It's even making me emotional because being in this country, especially us coming from afar, you don't have your family around here who can hold your hand. So if you need help, please seek help.
Sure.
Thank you for watching, and
Thank you so
much. To find more information about what we do on our website, www.handhandcommunitiecic.com, or send us a direct message on Facebook, and we are here to help. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Have a blessed evening.
And bye.
Bye.